How many people are married in here or are dating seriously? Okay. Can you reason or learn your way to marital health?
No.
I have a no vote over here.
First question is, what is health? I just read the 5 love languages. So it's like, I mean, they're learning different ways of loving each other. It seems like they're getting together.
Good question. What's marital health? What does that look like? Does anyone achieve marital health? Be honest.
It's like lots of
But nobody in this room.
Right?
What's that?
Marital health, lots of oxytocin.
Lots of oxytocin. Right, it's a good indicator. Lots of oxytocin. Anybody feel like they kind of achieved marital health? Yeah? Okay, what does it look like? What's that?
Typically, marital health. I mean, I don't think anybody always has marital health. I think there are the underlying issues. I mean, there are certain things that kind of are themed in the relationships that you come back and you feel and you then.
Okay.
So
So you think anybody has marital health all the time?
I think no.
All right, what is marital health though? What is it?
I feel like it's a subjective, abstract kind of thing, but like I actually said that I had this realization last night, or 2 or 3 minutes ago, and I said it to my wife, and I feel like this was kind of like, this encapsulates the idea for me. It's like that because of my relationship with my wife,
Yes.
I feel freedom not only to love her more deeply, but that I feel the freedom to love other people without needing to like know like, hey, are you okay with me? Do you like me? But like, because I feel so deeply known and understood and loved by her, I don't have to be loved by everyone. And I can be safe to go out and love.
Okay, so you're using her as a secure base.
Yes, and but like
After the exam, right?
No, exactly. So in that, I think we become very securely attached to each other, and there's something in that.
So would marital health have something to do with attachment? So it'd be a relationship in which attachment needs are met, right? And what facilitates the attachment needs being met? What are the ingredients that are necessary for attachment needs to be met?
Safety, comfort.
Those are the attachment needs, right? But what do you have to do to get them met? Do you reason and learn your way to get them met?
Will you reach out, you share, you trust?
Reach out,
You're
share,
vulnerable.
you're vulnerable.
I think you either feel it or you don't.
So you either feel it or you don't?
Well, like, how
Yeah.
do you know your needs are met? Because it feels like my needs are being met.
Okay.
Or it doesn't, and my needs are
Alright.
met.
Okay, so is the proof of marital satisfaction in the feeling? Or is it in the check boxes? Right. You're saying yes, right? Moments of time when you feel marital satisfaction. Are you saying to yourself, this feels good?
I'm appreciating it.
Okay.
But isn't that a way of saying this feels good?
Yeah, well, appreciation comes from an emotion, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like I've been most satisfied in our relationship with Katie is when arrive, or she has put herself out there in a vulnerable way and held me in that without judging me. It's like that's when I feel like in those moments where I'm most satisfied in a relationship with her.
Okay. All right. So when she kind of holds you in your vulnerability. All right. Okay. All right. So maybe as we go through EFT, you will make more sense as to sort of how these attachment needs get threatened and how they are supported within the relationship dance. We're talking a lot about relationship dance and the role that emotion plays. So emotion moves and rewards. Right? Emotion, that means move. And emotions are both the motivating principle and the rewarding principle. Right? There's nothing that we do that's not motivated by emotion. And there's nothing that we do again that's not motivated by emotional reward. Right? If you do something and you feel distress, you're unlikely to do it again. If you feel something that rewards you like peace, joy, happiness, you're likely to probably do it again. Right? And it doesn't necessarily mean that all things that make you happy are things you should do again. Right? Here's the difference. If what makes you happy, does it also make you unhappy? Catching this? If what makes you happy doesn't also make you unhappy, then it's probably something you should be doing. So I'll give you an example of this. If looking at pornography makes me happy, but also makes me unhappy, right, then it's not something I should be doing. But usually those things that bring emotional consequences that are rewards for things we need to continue to do are usually just rewards, with no part of the reward interfering with anything else. Right? And so emotion becomes really important because none of you are even in this classroom without emotion. Right? Your reason for being here is being driven by emotion. Tonight. Right? Everyone got in their car, decided to drive here this evening because of some emotional reward or emotional consequence. Right? What was your emotional reason for coming tonight? To see me, let's be honest. I'll work my soft voice. That'll feel good. What is your emotional reason for coming here tonight?
Excitement about learning.
Excitement about learning, right? Excitement. So you feel some excitement, anticipation, excitement that moves you to the classroom. And then hopefully the reward is a reward of learning. And with that reward of learning comes what sort of emotion? When you learn, what do you feel? Satisfaction, right? Yeah. So this goes around and around and around. So can we reason or learn our way to marital health? Didn't sound very romantic, does it? Right? When you go to get married, you say, well, I'll tell you what, I have a list of about 40 things, and if we do them, I think we'd marry forever. It just like takes away like the, you know, like the romance and the flavor and the, right? Like all that's like, how much of you wants that, right? I mean, most of you wants that, right? I mean, you want to be caught up in all the stuff that makes you feel alive, and connected, thriving, and all that logical, linear reasoning stuff, right? It makes things feel more flat and less colorful. It's like marriage that you spell out rather than live out. So we are married, M-A-R-I-E-D, but we're married, right? You can feel it, like you know it, because it's all of you, and inside of you, you experience the marriage. And between you, the space between you, the space inside of you is alive, and it's colorful, and it's flavorful, and it's, right? All your senses come alive in the experience of the marriage. Okay. So, can we read a self-help book and get our way to marital health? No. Can it be helpful? Can the love languages book be helpful? Yeah. Yeah. Can we read a book like Love and Respect and be helpful? Can we do it if we're really distressed? Okay, so that's the big difference, right? The big difference between this working and this not working is usually this is a couple that's already healthy. They just go a little bit further with those books. But the distressed couple is going to read something like this, and it's going to result in more shame, and it's going to result in more movement. And so who shows up to therapy? The distressed couple. Right? Again, unless you're like California, everyone has tons of money and they'll pay for the therapist. Simple things, but here in the Midwest, people that come to therapy for couples therapy are the ones that are pretty desperate, and they need it because they're so distressed. Okay. All right. You're up.
Okay. All right. So how to anything special about this?
Just click on the right button.
Okay. All right. So I want to start by just sharing with you guys when I, speaking of spring break, it just brought me back to 3 years ago. My husband and I went to Hawaii the week before I started practicum, and I remember being terrified of getting new clients, and immediately thereafter getting couples, and I don't think we had couples class back in those days until after, and I think I told you all about my, still to this day, the worst couple I've ever had, shortly thereafter coming to my life. with the male narcissist and being just terrified, and I'm still kind of terrified. They called me a few months ago, like, to check in. I was like, hung up the phone again, like, I still am not qualified to see you guys. But anyhow, when we started the couples class and I finally started doing and learning emotion-focused therapy, it finally gave me like a frame, like it helped me sort of start to see what was going on in the room, rather than just, I mean, I was validating and I was reflecting and I was moving back and forth and using some sort of intuition around what was going on between the partnership, but emotion-focused therapy was finally the thing that helped frame what in the world was going on in the room. So I think that hopefully maybe that'll give you some, maybe you're already doing that and you're ahead of me, but that at least for me was what was happening for me. So that's why I kind of love this model. So just to give you a little bit of background. Oh, go ahead.
Sorry, before we move on.
Yeah.
I forgot to tell you before we started class. Speaking of scary, if there's a tornado,
Yeah.
do you know where to go?
Ask about the
Okay. If there's a tornado, it probably comes off because the campus will notify us if it turns into a tornado warning. We all go downstairs and we go into the waiting room of the business department because there's no windows. Or you can go downstairs into the bathrooms, either place. Okay? That's the center of the building where there's no windows. So that's where we'll go. There's no basement. So we stay there until they tell us to leave. We've been there before. We've been in the bathroom with students.
All right.
Continue on the lecture.
Okay, great. And with that.
It's really convenient.
It's good now.
You know,
Yeah.
bathroom
Good
breaks.
The kids like the house, but it's
Okay. With that awkward transition. Okay. Okay, so we start with the mid-1980s, and couples counseling was basically, it was kind of in the cognitive behavioral world, but there really wasn't a lot of theory that went with it. It was a lot of contracts and just, it was behaviorally oriented, I statements, sort of just working through conflict, lots of lists, but it didn't have a lot of theory behind it. And it did look into some family of origin things, so problem-solving models look at family of origin influence to assist couples with choices. So it was really kind of shooting from the hip. There was not a lot of theory anywhere, other than, I would say the predominant was, I guess you would say it was solution-focused and cognitive behavioral. But even they weren't really working from a theory. It was more individually focused therapy with two people in the room. All right.
That's what we were borrowing from individually developed theories and transitioned them into couples therapy, right? So it was like solution focused for couples or cognitive for couples.
Yeah.
Everything we've been doing up to this point in class were adaptations of individual-oriented therapies for couples. So there was no theory written for couples.
And that's really still what we've been teaching even up to this point. Like there's no, even still, the solution focus and the narrative that you've been reading about is not really still couples oriented. This is really the first model that is a couples therapy model, correct? Okay. All right, so during the same time, anything that was looking from the perspective of the individual was kind of translating couples that really had a heavy dependency on one another as pathological. So if a couple came in and we're talking about these deep sort of innate need for one another, the therapist was seeing or perceiving that as pathological. There was a lot of language around sort of enmeshment or being sort of overly merged one with another. And that really kind of stems from a lot of our Western culture, right? And it really even comes, if you come even not very far back, that's a lot of how like even the parenting books were being, you know, that if the child cries, you just let the crying it out sort of thing. I mean, I even as like within the last 2 decades, a lot of my parenting books that I read talked a lot about, you know, crying it out and things like that. And so even within the last 20 years, there's just been a lot of attachment-based things, even in parenting and certainly in marriage, has pathologized a lot of attachment-based, you know, what we now have come to realize is very much sort of normal and healthy was overly enmeshed, right? So emotion was discouraged in couples therapy and considered something that couldn't be trusted. They kind of moved away from anything that was emotional. It was very taboo because it was uncontrollable. Like you get, and I mean, you guys, those of you who have been working with couples, especially if you're not used to it. When you get a couple in the room who is out of control, it's very, very scary. Now, those of you who have worked with couples